doing today? Good morning. I'm curious, for how many of you is this your first Model UN conference? And raise your hand if that's the case. Raise it up high. Okay, so we have almost the entirety of the first couple of rows over there and over here. Fantastic. Okay. For how many of you is this your second conference? Raise your hand. Okay, a lot of you actually, almost a lot of people on this side. Okay, thank you. Third conference. Third conference. Okay, and then there's always that person who I keep going 4, 5, 6, 7, and they're like, it's my 19. So just fourth and above, raise your hand. 4 or more. 4 or more. Awesome. Okay, so we have a pretty nice mix of beginners and then sort of beginners and then a little bit more advanced. Fantastic. So let's see. Can you hear me? Okay. So, and I'm just going to ask you to be very honest with me. Entertain me. How many of you, the thought of right now in like, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes, going into committee kind of creates a little bit of anxiety or nervousness or the sensation of weirdness in your chest or this general area? Raise your hand. A few of us? Okay, come on. Okay, those of you who raised your hand, thank you for being honest. The rest of you, you all still feel it, you just didn't raise your hand. Okay, great. So, when I went to my first conference, I was North Korea on a committee about nuclear weapons. What that meant, translation, everybody is going to hate you. And I did what I thought was good research. And the night before, I'm having this experience, like this traumatic experience in front of my computer. I didn't have a laptop back then. And I'm reading everything and reading like what my head of state had said, and I'm just going through all of it. And then I just have this realization of, why did I sign up for this? I don't think I can do this. So literally what I did the next morning, I called, I don't know if I called them, I probably emailed them, I don't remember. But I essentially said, you know what, unfortunately, I'm unwell and I can't come. So that is the level of nervousness that I felt my first conference. This was when it's embarrassing, I was in the 10th standard. So I was already kind of a grown kind of teenager person. So now fast forward to my next conference where I did really well, I won an award. Fast forward to me being at Columbia University and competing at Harvard, Yale, University of Chicago, and winning Best Delegate or Outstanding Delegate consistently. So there's a journey that goes from, oh my God, why did I sign up for this? To, I got this, right? And some of you, maybe the 4+ delegates who've been to 4+ conferences, you're feeling that way. So today, what I want to share with you is 3 lessons or strategies, however you want to think of them, that helped me navigate that journey and that I think could also help you. I'm just proposing them to you. You could listen to me and be like, she's crazy. Fine, that's okay. All I ask is that you listen, consider it, and then you decide what works for you. Sound good? Yeah? Okay. So the first lesson is this. You gotta get them to like you. So a lot of us think that Model UN is, I did my research and I've gone through all these websites and I know my position. And you go to committee, and I've seen, maybe you are that delegate and that's why you're laughing. You go to committee, and what do? Delegate of the United States of America, what's your policy on this? And people are just like freaked out by you. So what I want to share with you is, instead, it's okay that you, in fact, I commend you that you did that research. I commend you that you know what you need to talk about. Fantastic. But before people even consider your arguments, if they don't like you, it doesn't even matter. So I'll give you a quick story to illustrate. If you're like, what is she talking about? Let me tell you a story. So when I was in Mexico, one of my friends, he's 2 years older than me, later on became the Mon faculty advisor. Very smart guy, very cerebral, understood topics really intricately. So he goes to his Model UN conference, and he stands up, he makes a very good speech. He believes that this is what the committee needs to do. You know what happened? You know how many people went in? Zilch. Nobody wanted to work with him. And he was just baffled. He was like, but Karen, my research is the best research. These people are idiots. I know that I have the best information. And he would just get so angry at it. And I said, okay, let's analyze what's going on here. And I attended, he used to give classes on immune, and I went to his classes and I said, dude, can I be honest with you? You come across as a know-it-all. And think about it. Whenever a friend of yours or a classmate acts like that, oh, I can't believe you don't know this. How do you feel about that person? Do you like them? Yes or no? Do you want to work with them? Unless you're a masochist, probably not, right? Probably not. So my advice to you is take a different approach. Take a different approach. Be nice to people. Get them to like you, and then you can get, and by the way, this is all the way in politics. I was just reading an article today about Hillary Clinton. You know, there's a primary elections happening in the US, making a speech in Harlem towards a black audience. And there was a paragraph that really caught my eye. I was reading it this morning that said, she connected, before she even made her argument and her policies about how she was going to deal with inequality in the United States of America, she got the audience to connect with her and to get them to feel that she understood them. That is step one. So I'll tell you the flip story of what you should do. When I joined the Model UN team, we were going to go to New York, because going to New York is exciting. And we were going to go to a Model UN conference. And picture this. I knew no one in Model UN. I had no friends in Model UN. So I go to this meeting kind of nervous. I'm sitting, you know how when you're new to something, you sit in the back so that nobody sees you, right? And there was this one guy who was a senior, and I had met him. His name is Jorge. We call him Jorgito. And at the end of the session, this guy had met me once, okay? One time. He's at the front. He gets up at the end of the session, walks all the way up to the back of the room, and comes up to me and says, Karen, I am so excited that you're joining us for the trip. I can't wait. How do you think that made me feel? First of all, I was like, you remember my name? What? And then secondly, really? You're excited that I'm coming? It was this moment of wow. But the message to you is that. Be that person. How do you think I felt about him afterwards? Did I want to support him? Did I want him to win the election to be president of the club? Of course, because he had been nice to me, okay? So if you're wondering, okay, Karen, fine, I believe you, but how do I do it? Very quick tip. There's an author called Dale Carnegie, who your parents will know, wrote a book called How to Win Friends and Influence People. One of his tips is this: the most deliciously beautiful word to anyone, what do you think it is? Absolutely. Did you guys hear that? Their name. So you learn people's names. How do you do that? When you go into committee, your first conversation is not, hi, Delegate of Pakistan, how are you doing this morning? You instead say, hey, how's it going? I'm Karen, what's your name? Oh, Sahil. Where are you from? Or, oh, that's interesting. Cool, so is this your first conference? Do you notice that? Do you notice how that's a very different quality of relationship? And by the way, I'm not making this up. I asked a friend of mine who always wins Best Delegate, I'm like, how do you do it? He said, honestly, Karen, I'm just nice to people. I'm very friendly with people. Okay, so strategy one, you gotta get them to like you, otherwise you will not get anywhere. Okay, cool. The second point, you don't have to know it all. Instead, be curious, or instead, help people. So here's another misconception about Model UN, right? We think that because we are Model UN delegates, we know what's happening in the world. I know all my information, right? And like, I have to know all of the proposals. I will solve this problem, right? How many of us, like, we felt that way? I'm sure all of you have. Right. Here's the problem with that approach. The problem with that approach is that A, it's incredibly arrogant. No, there is no way that you will have the best proposal out of everyone. And secondly, it's teamwork. So how arrogant, firstly. Secondly, the other problem with it is that it creates anxiety, doesn't it? I don't know this, right? It creates anxiety. So what I'm proposing to you, you don't have to know everything. Whatever you know, you present. Instead, be curious, what does that mean? Go up to people and don't come like, here's my proposal. Just literally say, hey, what do you think about this issue? Like, what does your country think about it? Not from a, so that I can steal your ideas and beat you, but from a, I'm actually curious. What does your country think about this? And listen. Listen to what people have to say. You will accomplish two objectives. The first one, you'll actually get more information, right? Because you already know what you know. You don't know what they know, right? So what a waste of time to talk. Listen, right? And the second thing you'll accomplish, how do you think that person who you took the time to listen to is going to feel about you? How do you think that person is going to feel? Do you think they're going to like you? Do you think they'll be more likely to want to work with you? Absolutely. Because all of us want to be listened to. You might not articulate it, you might not be aware of it, but that's actually what you want. Okay, good. So quick story. I'll prove it to you. The other part is help people. I was at the University of Chicago. They have a crisis conference. It's like one of the top crisis conferences in the United States. And I was in a Charles V committee, random. And I was trying to pass all these directives. How many of you have been in a crisis committee? A few of you. Okay. It's just like a more fast-paced committee, nothing special about it. And I was getting no traction, as in I was proposing things and nothing was working. And I was like, why is it not working? And then I changed my approach. I said, okay, this is not working. First, acknowledge it's not working. What else should I do? And I started to notice that there were other people who wanted to make proposals that I thought were smart. So instead of focusing my attention on, how do I get this passed? How do I do this? I said, let me focus on helping other people. Literally what I did, when somebody made a proposal and I thought it was good, I said, I agree with the delegate of X. I think that's a fantastic proposal. I think we should all pass it. Or I would say, that is a great point, delegate of Y. Why don't we add to that these other three things? I think that might make it stronger. And I accomplished two things. First of all, I'm building an ally. That person already likes me and wants to work with me. But secondly, and more importantly, did the committee move forward? Did we actually reach a consensus? Absolutely. So my second point to you is, you don't have to know it all. Instead, be curious. Instead, help other people. There's this fantastic quote. You want more love in your life? Give more love. You want to be more successful? Help other people be more successful. And it's absolutely true. This quote by Zig Ziglar, management thinker, sales thinker, you can have everything in life you want if you'll just help enough people get what they want. In Model UN, what do people want? Attention. They want their proposals to be passed. They want to be recognized by the chair. Why don't you help them get that? Notice what happens. You will be rewarded tremendously. And it's also the right thing to do. Okay? So that's two things. You guys want to hear the third one? And then we close and I send you off to committee and it's going to be beautiful. Okay. The third one, I love it. When I tell my students, I teach 8th graders all the way up to 12. And when I love it because I know I'm about to break their tiny little hearts. And I love it. And I say, nobody cares about you. Your mother, your parents love you, your family, your teacher. Outside of the people who know you, nobody cares about you. Nobody cares that you worked really hard and that you want to win Best Delegate and that I really want and a chair doesn't come. Nobody cares. Like even your chair doesn't care. Even your teacher doesn't care. Okay? So once we've acknowledged that nobody cares about our little whims and desires and crying things, what do you do instead? Instead, you focus on adding value. So a lot of us do Model UN. I'm the first one to admit it. I'll tell you why I did Model UN. Yes, because I wanted to learn about the world. Yes, because I wanted to be a better public speaker. Yes, all of that. But really, the real reason I did it was because that is what smart people did in Mexico. And I was like, I'm smart, so I'm gonna do Model UN. Yeah, I know you guys are laughing. I know you guys are snobs. I know this because I am one of you. Okay, intellectual snobs. Okay, so when you make we love it, right? You guys are wearing suits and you feel so important. And I'm here to tell you, and that's fine. If I do that, it's okay. Fine. You're not making a speech just to look pretty and impress everyone. If you want to do that, go to a debate competition, go to an elocutions competition. When you're in Model UN, you're here to solve a problem. And public speaking is just the way that you do it. Does that make sense? So let me give you an example. Instead, add value. What's an example of adding value? I'll tell you first how not to do it, and then I'll tell you how to do it. So there was this one guy at my second Model UN conference in Mexico. Very well-meaning guy. We're having like a break, and he comes up to me and he's like, you know, Karen, this is my conference. This is when I'm gonna do it. I've been doing Model UN for so long, but this one, I'm gonna win it. I'm like, okay, sounds cool. And then he's spending his break telling me about how much he deserves this, how much it's his turn, and how he really wants it. Meanwhile, I say, okay, great. I talk to him for 5 minutes, then I go. Meanwhile, I go to a co-delegate and I say, listen, what we have come up with so far, I don't think it's good. Why don't we brainstorm a little bit about how we can do better in committee? Like, what else can we do to solve this crisis? Who do you think did better in committee? How many of you think that it was the first guy who did better in committee? How many of you think that it was me who did better in committee? And it's not because I'm here. I mean, hi guys, I'm fabulous. That's not what I mean. Yeah, I did better in committee, but let me tell you exactly how you can do it. The problem with this guy, and it's not just him, honestly, every new Model UNer, I'm sure all of you kind of either want to or have thought about winning Best Delegate. That's fine, it's a competitive sport, I get it. The problem is what an author that I follow calls the I syndrome. I want to win, I want to stand out, and again, what? Nobody cares about you. Let me tell you the opposite, and I want you to get from this, if you do just this, when you go to committee, I guarantee you will make a bigger impact, people will like you more, and if you do it well, you'll even win an award. Okay, do you want to hear what it is? So I was at Yale, my favorite conference after Columbia's. I was at Yale, and there were very smart people. It was a committee of about 35 people. Out of 35, there were about 7 who were intense delegates. You know what I'm talking about. You know what type of delegate, right? They're talking all the time, making great proposals, talking over each other, stealing the mic from the moderator. Like that level of like A-level, like Harvard kind of people. And I looked at that and I said, how am I gonna do anything in this committee? Like, I can try to compete with that, but they're already competing with each other. And I was asking the question, how do I stand out in committee? How do I win this committee? And then it was yielding 0 results. I was like, blocked, couldn't do anything. And then, here's what I want you to take away from this. I changed the question. I was asking the wrong question. To ask, how do I win? How do I stand out? Was yielding no results. So instead, I asked the question, and this is a question I want you to take with you. How do I push debate forward? In other words, how do I add value to the committee? It's not about me, because nobody cares about me and my desires. It's about the committee. You know what I did? When I shifted, and that was the question I was asking, suddenly I had all of these ideas of how I could be helpful to the committee. So I'll tell you specifically what I did. The delegate of, I don't know, let's call it delegate of the US and delegate of China. Making it up, I don't remember who it was. They were like arguing about which one was better, and I just stepped in and I said, you know what? Delegate of the United States, I'd like to agree with the point that you were making about this and that. I think it's fantastic. I'd also like to respectfully disagree. On this part, India believes that we can tweak that. That said, what you're saying sounds very similar to what the delegate of Russia over here is saying. So, because of A, B, and C. So why don't we as a committee, let's merge point 2 of your proposal with point 3 of Russia's proposal, and why don't we just sign off on that? And by the way, I just wrote it down. Let's just vote on it. Do you notice how different that is? And now it accomplishes multiple things. 3 things that I can think of. Firstly, I'm acknowledging the contributions of the US, Russia, and China. So they feel like, finally, somebody paid attention to me, right? Secondly, I am contributing to the committee so that we can reach a solution, right? Did it help the committee? Unequivocally, yes. Did we reach a solution? Yes. And thirdly, and this for the vain of you, it makes me look amazing, right? So it's really a win-win-win situation. So that's what I want to propose to you. Nobody cares about you. Instead, add value. Focus on how can you push debate forward. It's not about you. Okay, so to sum up, the 3 things that I encourage you to try in committee today. You gotta get them to like you. If you don't have that, you're not gonna accomplish anything. Second, you don't have to know it all. Instead, be curious. Instead, help people. And finally, nobody cares about you. Instead, focus on adding value. Quick request. I told you this kind of like whatever, let me just share it with you. It's taken me 10 years to realize this, implement it, condense it into a way that makes sense to you. So here's all I ask. I ask that you don't just passively consume what I told you. I ask that you go to committee and you actually give one of these a shot. Even if you think, I think Karen's lying, this is BS, it's not gonna work. Try it. Try it. Like, yeah, challenge me. Try it and see the result. Let the result speak for itself. And that's step 1. If you do just that, you would make me so happy and you would make my morning worth it getting up early to come here. If you want to take it one step further, once you do that and you see whatever result, even if you're like, this doesn't work, fine. Send me an email. Tell me what you did and tell me what came out of it. My email is there, Karen@projectmodelun.com. Can I ask you guys to do that? Just try it. That's step 1. Give it a shot. And if you want to take it one step further, send me an email. In closing, this is something that coming back to, I was freaking out at my first conference, and honestly, it wasn't just my first conference. Every single time that I went to a conference, the 60 to 90 minutes before, the question in my mind, you know what it was? Why do I do this to myself? Why do I come to these conferences? I hate this. And then as soon as I did it, I loved it. So I got this from an actor who I follow, and I wanted to share it with you because I think it's a beautiful thought to leave with. Breathe deep. Everything you need, you already have. Don't forget to have fun. Fun is key to nurturing your creative force. Remember, you're doing this because it's fun, hopefully. Whoever it is, they want to hear every word you have to say to them. Whatever proposal you want to have, there is somebody in the room that wants to listen to it. When you put yourself on the line, and this had more expletive language, but I changed it because I want to be formal. Expect to be nervous. It is normal to be nervous. If you're doing something that matters, that is putting yourself on the line, that this might not work, of course you're going to be nervous. Relish it. It's amazing. Nerves are the energetic form of your creative force. And bottom line, rock it out. Thank you guys so much.